So, 53 subs. Now, that's a number to celebrate. So for this one, I would like to share something special. I would like to tell you that I haven't spoken to my mother in 2 years. Now, what possible reason would a son of a single mom would have to not be in contact with her? Let's just say something very clear. If you have a family, if you happen to be the leader of your family, know that you do not have a family. You have a gang. And why do young people join gangs? Is it for a sense of belonging? Mostly. Is it because they have a set of duties set to them that they know that if they operate under those duties perfectly, they would get the sense of security and protection their own families couldn't give them? Perhaps more. And this is what you should do, at least in my opinion, as a father. You should assume that you live in a world of 9 billion strangers and that your family is a small gang of misfits and rebels that have to go up against this world of 9 billion strangers. And why is that? Well, it's basically what it is. Now, I do not mean that you should become paranoid, that you should start viewing the world as dangerous, even though it is. I am saying to you that unless you are willing and able to operate as a coherent and cohesive unit at all times, you are going to have a very hard time, not only raising your kids, but keeping your family together. And what do I mean by this? I mean that the primary binding protocol that each gang has, it's its own one for all and all for one concept. It's the way they work. You harm one of us and expect that 10 to perhaps 500 of our members will be outside of your doorstep the very next instant. Anticipate that the moment you bring harm or trouble to any of our members, that he or she will not be alone against you. Anticipate that we will all be there. And this is what happened with me and my mother. She became a threat eventually to my own family. And as a leader, if you detect a threat anywhere around you, even if it is your own mother, understand that it is a threat anyway, and that you will have to make very, very hard decisions that will affect both your lives. So as my mother became a threat to me, and most importantly, my kids and my wife, I decided that she no longer had a place close to us. I decided not that she was what the contemporary pop culture would like you to believe, that she was a toxic and malicious person that wanted to do us harm. No. I am saying to you that she had become a liability to the way our gang worked. Because each gang has its own rules. Each gang has its own way of doing things. So, as a dad, if you detect such a threat, my advice is to cut it loose. Present to that threat the possibility that he or she will have to face the 9 billion strangers of this world on her own, without a family, without a gang protecting her. So first things first, one for all and all for one. If you do not have this in your family, create it. Make it from scratch. Trust me, all of its members will eventually come to applaud you. So how can you do this? Well, the very first thing that you should do, if your children are of age and can understand this, create your own language, because each gang has its own way of communicating. And the fact that this mode or language of communication is completely different from whatever else society can dish out places you and your family/gang members in an advantageous position. So, safe words, entire sentences that out of context or within context unveil more information than they are seemingly intended to, are very, very crucial, important, and very useful to have. No matter how ridiculous they may sound, no matter how ridiculous your kids might feel they sound, you should know that they should be prepared for the eventuality or the possibility that they will have to use them. And it will be at such a time when all of your members will be at the doorstep of the one who is harming them. And because such a powerful force can exist in the world, because families are the primary operation unit of human beings, and they are the ones mainly responsible for dethroning emperors, crumbling down empires, and raising them from scratch, they should never be used, as the nukes they are, for trivial purposes. And that is why very successful families have such modes of communication. And one last thing. We are living in a world that defends, operates, and wants you to act as if you are inclusive. Never be inclusive. In fact, the worst thing you can do is be inclusive regardless of the scale on which you operate on. You should be inclusive as a boss. You should be inclusive as a citizen. You should be inclusive as a father. And to that I say, rubbish. Be very careful when you are asked to be inclusive, and be extra careful when you find yourself being exclusive with no good reason. And what do I mean by this? I mean vet everyone. Anyone who isn't your family needs to be vetted. Anyone who doesn't belong to that tightly knit family unit, that gang of yours that you operate so successfully or not, needs to be excruciatingly, thoroughly examined for his or her intentions. And it is a very simple thing that you can do to operate in such a way. Ask of them before they enter your family, your gang of misfits and rebels, to operate as if they already belong. To operate in the mode of one for all and all for one. By having that efficiency within the communication channels that you already use. And if that person cannot do any of those things, then that person simply does not belong there. That is why my mom was shown the door to the outside of my house. That is why she was thrown to the wilds. Because here's the thing, gangs protect you from the wild. But if you cannot be a full member, then you do not deserve full membership anyway. And if you found any value here today, leave a like and subscribe. That's all. Thank you from the deepest reaches of my heart for actually becoming the seed of what I hope is a very long, very productive, very enjoyable, and most importantly, very informative YouTube journey for you and me.